How can the Texas Board of Education have the power to change textbooks really all over the entire country? Why does this matter to the rest of us?
Texas and California, the two biggest textbook purchasers in the country. Whatever textbooks they select, the rest of the country follows.
You have a gatekeeper that you have to get past to get to the market. And in Texas, the gatekeeper is the standards of the State Board of Education review.
I would like to strike the words women and minority.
A motion to insert the name Hussein in between Barack Obama.
I would like to delete hip-hop and insert country music.
If you want to control and shape the politics of a state, controlling and shaping what students learn in public schools from age 5 through age 18 is a really, really smart strategy. Don McElroy has, since being appointed chair of the State Board of Education, really been a lightning rod.
You don't claim that dinosaurs and humans walk side by side, do you?
Of course I do.
Dinosaurs were on the ark?
Yes, that's what I would teach. I'm going to do the best I can to help, forward those ideas.
This is about the content of what kids in Texas public schools learn from age 5 to 18. It will change the face of our state for decades to come.
What you are discussing now is whether you will teach the denigration of evolution.
I disagree with these experts. Somebody's got to stand up to experts. What about dinosaurs? Were dinosaurs on the ark? No. Sure they were. We don't know.
Well, the man you're about to meet helps write that state's curriculum, and his goal is to shift it toward the political right. And wherever you live, your student may soon learn from his lessons, as Dan Harris now reports.
You're doing awesome, Doug. This is tough.
Don McElroy is a chipper suburban dentist and a self-described Christian fundamentalist whose views on history, politics, and science may well impact what your child learns in school.
My worldview is definitely a Christian worldview, kind of an Orthodox biblical worldview.
McElroy serves on the Texas Board of Education, where he's part of a powerful bloc of Christian conservatives who critics say are imposing their religious and political views on what public school students learn on subjects ranging from history to evolution. This is not just some Texas sideshow. Because the state of Texas buys so many textbooks, publishers often tailor the materials that go out all over the country to the standards that McElroy and his colleagues have set.
You have been quoted as saying that the amount of power you have at times boggles your mind.
Well, I did say that.
First time.
Right now, the board is working on the social studies guidelines, and here are some examples of things the conservative bloc has pushed through. They've required that textbooks mention pillars of the conservative movement like the moral majority, the National Rifle Association, and the Contract with America.
God bless America.
With no liberal counterbalance. They've insisted that the words of Jefferson Davis, president of the Confederacy during the Civil War, be considered alongside those of Abraham Lincoln. And they have inserted language suggesting that the actions of the infamous anti-communist Senator Joseph McCarthy were justified.
Audience. That helps us.
But critics say that McElroy and the conservative Christian bloc have consistently overreached. While they tried and failed to remove any mention of Thurgood Marshall, the first black Supreme Court justice, and Cesar Chavez, the famous labor organizer, they did successfully remove the author of the children's book Brown Bear, What Do You See?, Bill Martin Jr., because they mistook him for another Bill Martin who wrote a book critical of capitalism.
That was embarrassing. We made a mistake. Somebody had pointed that out, and they didn't do their research.
People are really latching onto it as an example of reckless zeal.
Where things get really heated, though, is on issues like equal rights. McElroy angered many people when he said this.
For instance, the women's right to vote. The women didn't vote on it. The men did. The men passed it for the women. Eventually, the Civil Rights Act, it took a majority vote. In other words, the minorities were not able to do it by themselves. It took a majority it took the majority to do it for the minority.
Does that diminish the role of minorities who suffered, went to prison, were beaten, and even killed to get the Civil Rights Act passed?
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to diminish all the roles that everybody else did. It's just stating stating a fact that it's not really stated.
Another hot area, the conservative bloc's current push to emphasize the Christian faith of America's founding fathers.
What do you say to people who say that you are in essence, imposing your political and religious views on school children.
We're a political body. We have to make political decisions.
And what you do between now and when you leave office is going to have a long-term impact.
That's fine. Yes, sir.
I'd like to call for a show of hands. All those in
By the time
favor,
McElroy leaves
motion
office,
before
the
us
social
as
studies standards will be in place and impacting textbooks all over America for the next 10 years.
My gosh, they deal with Hispanics, Hispanic issues.
The debate surrounding religious freedom surfaced yet again as some Democrats tried to add the wording barring the government from favoring one religion over another in reference to separation of church and state. It failed.
Civil rights, you know, just our participation where we work together. Oh no, these are not acceptable.
The Texas State Board of Education's powerful conservative bloc pushed through controversial textbook rewrites, which they insist were long overdue.
I feel very relieved that we were able to go through that much amount of work and to come up with a very positive majority vote in favor of adopting the document.
Among the changes, textbooks must now include mention of the conservative resurgence of the 80s and 90s, the National Rifle Association, the moral majority, and include the idea that the Founding Fathers may not have intended a separation of church and state. Even some vocabulary has been changed. References to the slave trade would be changed to the Atlantic Triangular Trade. But some conservatives applaud what Texas has done.
They're trying to tilt this back to the center from a heavy leftward liberal bias that is endemic in most history books in this nation.
No matter what happens nationwide, the social studies standards that just passed in Texas will be in place for 10 years until the school board votes again on curriculum for the Lone Star State.